Grand day, everybody. This is Status, okay, also known as That He Is 1 Billion. I thank everyone for being here today. Of course, just like what you see in the title, we're going over Bob Proctor, the world renowned, one of the best, I would say, paradigm experts in the world. And we getting ready to go over his film. Basically, do you know who you are? So I've been aware. I done watched part of this clip before. It's been a long while though, and every single time it's just like a book. Every time I do listen to it, is that any time that I listen to a little bit of part of this film that was created or recording, that you always learn something new because your mind is always going to be aware just to a certain level. And when you have a awareness towards being aware of something on a certain level, that's all that you receive. And that's all that it will be, right? So every single time I come back, I always learn something new. Every time that I think that, oh, I done learned everything that I need to learn, he always brings something else that I didn't even see that way. It's like I'm reading a book for the new time. So let's get ready to get into it. And just know before we even get into this that this is about starting over a billion intellectual conversations with people that not just want better for themselves, but to want to become more than who they are, to be able to be selfish so we can be selfless to each other. Because what's the point of being here if all we are here for is just ourselves? At the end of the day, to get true happiness, it's about serving others. It's just about finding a way of how do we do it for each other and how do we find the way in which we've been blessed to be able to be a blessing to each one another. So from that, let's get ready to get into it.
You attended seminars, and you said your reason there was to learn more about yourself.
Yeah.
My experience has been people attend seminars, especially self-development seminars, to look for the answer. They want to know, what is it out there I can learn so that I can be more successful? That wasn't your motivation?
No, oddly enough. And I think probably you're right. I think that's what most people are looking for. I think they're looking for an answer outside of themselves, and they're never going to find it. I think by this time I realized it was something in me. I met a man here in Toronto. He was one that originally got me involved in studying this, Ray Stanford. And he told me if I didn't like the results I was getting in my life, that I was going to have to change me because they were my results. And he said, if you're going to change you, you're going to have to find out something about yourself. And that seemed to make sense. I don't think it was an earth-shattering idea. It wouldn't give anybody a brain hernia, but it made a hell of a lot of sense to me. So I started to study myself. I found most people don't know who they are. They really don't.
What do you mean? I mean, I know my name, I know my age, I know where I live.
Yeah, that's not you, though. You know, that's just that. If you ask the average person who they are, they'll give you their name. They'll say, I'm Bob Proctor, but I'm not. Bob and Proctor are two words. My parents give them to me. They're called names, but it's not me. It's my name. Then somebody will say, well, this is me, but this isn't me either. It's my body. Like you never phone down here to the studio and say, body won't be in today. It's sick.
Okay.
You know, we don't say am hand or am leg. It's my hand, my leg, my body, my name. Who am I? Well, that's an interesting question. And I believe.
Wow, we just barely get started within this video, but one thing that Mr. Bob Proctor just really just pointed out is something that's very imperative for us to be able to know. Oftentimes, I say myself that we are a spirit before we're a body, as in we're not. This isn't I'm hand, I'm head, I'm body. This is my hand, this is my head, this is my body. As in, this is an expression towards who we are, but this isn't truly who we are. This is the earth suit towards here on earth. This isn't nothing else. As in, this is just a time for us to be here, to be able to have a human experience here on this planet, which I believe is to be able to get ready for more of the afterlife, but that's more into other things. But it's just to have you to recognize that what you are is beyond your body. You're beyond physical. You're not confined by the physical world unless you allow it to be. And the only way that you can be confined if you only have the awareness towards just your body. Our body isn't the ultimate seeker of pleasure. It's a spirit, and I'm pretty sure you're going to elaborate more about it. But it's just about realizing that what you see in the mirror, that's just a reflection of you. The way that you carry yourself, the way that you groom yourself is, of course, how you feel about yourself. And because we know that we take care of those things that we truly value, as in someone who has a brand new car, probably a luxurious car. Oftentimes, you're going to keep it clean, have the best of details, not going to let no one eat in the car or anything like that. It's about treating yourself the same because this is your body. You're not the body, but this is your body. This is of you, but this is not you. It's just reflection. So that's one thing that I definitely got from him.
If a person will start to study that and look for the answer, they'll find it. See, I think we live simultaneously on three planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have an intellect, and we live in physical bodies.
Okay.
But because we lack awareness or understanding of who we are, we're totally locked into a physical world, and we let things outside of us control us. 95% of the population are reacting to life. They're not really living at all.
Okay. And would you call that one of the barriers to success?
Oh, there's no question about it. I think there's two barriers. Success is a funny word. Nightingale had a great definition for it. He said a person's successful
Earl
if they know
Nightingale.
where they are, and they know where they're going, and they're progressively moving in that direction. He said that success was the progressive realization
of a worthy ideal.
Anyone that has a goal and they're moving towards it, they're successful. Most people think.
By the way, I'm going to be putting everyone on game soon with another one of these reaction videos with Earl Nightingale. The reason why he mentions Earl Nightingale because Earl Nightingale was Bob Proctor's mentor back in the day when he was first starting out on his personal development journey. Earl Nightingale was his mentor, and one thing that he taught, which he has audios on YouTube, is that success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal, which means, in basic terms, that for whatever that someone truly desires and they're working towards that direction, and that's what they become, they are in success. If they want to be a school teacher, they are, and they're a success. If they want to be an engineer or whatever that it may be, they're a success. Because success is a progressive realization of a worthy ideal. It's about putting the images in your past to be able to come true that which you truly wish to become. And that's what you do become.
Think that you're successful if you have a lot of money. Quite often you have a lot of money if you're successful, but it isn't. I wouldn't say Mother Teresa has a lot of money.
Okay.
No, but she's a pretty successful lady. So it's
Okay. So that barrier to success.
well, there's a couple of them.
Okay.
I think there's two barriers. One is our conditioning, the conditioning that takes place in our subconscious mind from the time we're infants. All we can do is act and talk like the people around us. That's why we learn the language we learned. If there was 10 languages spoken in our home, we'd learn 10 languages without any trouble. There's usually one, and that's the only one we ever learn. And we grow older and we think, oh, I couldn't learn another language. We could learn 100 if we wanted to. You can do anything. But I think we're conditioned. We have a real strong conditioning, usually with not some very good ideas. And then that's the barrier that's inside us. The one that's outside of us is our environment. We have a tendency to act like everybody around us. And if you think about this, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because if you study statistics, 95% of the people live their entire life and never live the way they want to live.
Wow.
You know that 95% of the population in this country, let's say in North America,
Okay.
the richest continent in the history of the world, they'll work productively, let's say for 40 of their 65 years.
Okay.
And they'll end up with hardly any money. Well, there's got to be something wrong.
So there's not much.
5% of the people end up financially comfortable or independent.
Are you trying to depress us, Bob? Because that's.
No, actually, I think it's quite an exciting idea because you see the idea behind it is that anybody can win, anyone at all. But if we start studying these statistics, I think we'll arrive at the conclusion, geez, I better start thinking for myself rather than follow everybody. Most people, they get a job, they look around, they see how everybody else is doing their work, and they start doing it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They should stop and think, I wonder if any of these people know what they're doing. You know, is there a better way to do it?
But don't we have a need to fit in? I mean, we don't want to stand out. We don't want to get fired. We don't want to make waves.
Exactly. Just fall into line, you know, take a number, be like everybody around. You know, that'd be great in the animal kingdom. But human beings aren't supposed to live that way. I think we should make a few waves.
Right.
We should maybe stand out, be different. Not
We're creative
for the sake of
beings.
being different,
Okay.
but because we are different. We all think
Mm.
different thoughts. And I believe we should start to think and build images in our mind of what we'd like to do and then set out and do it.
Okay.
Emerson did that. Edison did that. Marconi did that. Samuel Morse did that. Buckminster Fuller did that. We could go on and on and on.
Okay.
They were different. They stood out. They made a few waves.
Okay. You started with you saying you started with a search for yourself to try to find out more about yourself, and you were somewhat successful along the way.
Well, I didn't start it like that in the beginning. I started out, I wanted to earn a lot of money. I figured if I had enough money, I was going to cure all my problems. I found that that wasn't true. I earned a fair amount of problems or money, and I seemed to have more problems. But I after working at this for a few years, I decided that the real answer is get to know yourself a little better.
Okay.
And I don't think you have to go out in the Himalayas and become a guru to.
Okay. What did you do to learn about yourself? You said you went around as many seminars.
I attended seminars. I went and listened to different speakers who taught something about the mind. I think the answer is in our mind if we'll start studying and trying to understand our mind.
Okay. Let me get back to you if I can. What did you learn about Bob Proctor during that study?
Well, I learned that the biggest part of me you'll never see. It's non-physical. And what you see here in the physical body is nothing but the physical manifestation of the higher side of my personality. And of course, that's true with you and Nancy's on the camera. It's true of everyone. And what we have to study, I think, is how does this non-physical part of my mind work? What happens when I think? Where do thoughts come from? How was this chair built? Somebody had to think. Thoughts are everywhere. And we pull thoughts into our mind and we build pictures or images in our mind.
Okay.
What we want to understand is that's a non-physical side of ourselves that's doing that. If I can build an image of something in my mind, I'm quite capable of building a physical replica of it in my world. So if I build an image of me as a happy, relaxed person, I can live like that. If I build an image of myself as being prosperous, I can become prosperous.
So if we think rich, we will be rich.
Absolutely. We're already rich, just short of money.
Okay, those of us that like to acquire more money
Yeah.
and or happiness or whatever we see success, those of us that want to reach the goals that we've set for ourselves, we do it first by...
Well, the first thing you do is sit down and decide what you want. If it's money you want, how much money?
Lots of money.
Well, nobody knows how much lots is.
Okay.
So you've got to be specific.
Okay.
You write down on a card exactly what you want. And you carry that card around and read it often. Now, this is what I learned in this book, Think and Grow Rich, and it's what I teach in the seminars. I'll teach people how to set goals. But you decide exactly what you want. And then you start to think. Now, you're going to have thoughts come to your mind of why you can't get it.
Mm-hmm.
You have the ability in your conscious mind to reject that idea, kick it out of your mind. Thinking of why you can't do something is never going to do you any good. And keep thinking until you start to think of thoughts of how you can do it. And the way will be shown to you. It comes in the form of images in our mind.
Wow.
Think of how you can and not why you can't.
Okay.
Think why you can and not why you think you can't. So one thing he's teaching a principle that comes from this book. Let me reach for it real quick. And the book is called Think and Grow Rich. It's by Napoleon Hill. See? And basically it's written by Napoleon Hill. And it goes over principles that goes into how to think and grow rich, because riches aren't just by accident. Most of the time is done on purpose. It's calculated, and riches are beyond just monetary wealth. It's just money is just the result of success. And when he goes into what he's talking about right now about the gold card, about writing it down and making it plain so who see it will run with it, which is a biblical verse as well. He talks about writing down on a gold card, which he's called it a GOAL, not gold, gold, GOAL. And from the gold card, he wants you to write down something. I have something written on mine. And what he wants you to do, he's probably going to say it within his film, but to say that I'm so happy and grateful that blank, 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 blank by this time frame. So I said again, it starts off with saying, I am, as in I am. I am so happy and grateful. The reason why we're saying I am, because I am is one of the two most powerful words. I and am. I am. This goes beyond your body. This goes towards your spirit. You're saying, you're claiming that you are, that I am so happy, which happy and love, being happy and love are the two highest forms of emotion on an energy level. We can discuss this in a further other topic, but basically think about a vibration, and the faster the vibration, the more powerful that it is. Happiness and love are the two most powerful vibrations that you can feel at all times. As for example, if you feel sad, you feel low. That is a low vibration. If you feel happy, that's a higher vibration. Love is up there as well. So it's about saying, I am. You writing down this down on the gold card. I am so happy and grateful that I am such and such, or that I have such and such by a certain time frame. And the reason why it's important to put a time frame, because even if you don't hit that time frame, you're making your mind, your subconscious mind, because you have two minds. You have your conscious mind, which your conscious mind is what we're using right now. Your conscious mind is what it sounds like. You're conscious of what you're doing. You're aware. I'm speaking to you right now, and you're watching this right now. So that is your conscious mind. Then you have your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is responsible for your dreams and creating 90% of everything that's in your life. Your subconscious mind is, you could be listening to something, and even though if you're not listening to it, like let's say you're sitting in a car and you listen to the radio on the same station and you hear the same ads all the time, you don't pay them no attention. But over a long time frame, if you were to ever truly think about what you was listening to, even though you wasn't listening to it, your subconscious mind would remember everything and reflect it within your life in one way or another. A perfect example would be the movie Focus with Will Smith, and I forgot the name of the lady, but she was awesome in the movie. And basically, they had one scene, spoiler alert, which there was at a football game, and basically Will Smith, he was betting against this dude who's known for gambling, and they was doing little friendly bets like, I bet you that the quarterback gonna do this and that. And Will Smith was winning at first, like $100, 200. Then it worked up to 1,000. He won that, and then it worked up to buku numbers, and then he started to lose everything. And then towards the end, Will Smith won the money back and more because of what they already prepped the rich man of seeing, the gambler. So weeks before the man came to the game, they set up a certain number of everything around him. I believe it's like the number 7 or 5 or something like that. But you say it was 7. So if the dude went to the bathroom, it'd be, I don't know, 7 candles in the bathroom. Like if you walk into his hallway, it'd be 7 lights on the chandelier. If he open up his phone, it'd be like 7 apps right there. Like they set up whatever they could to always equal to the number 7. So when they came to the game, and for the last gamble they had was to guess any number on the field, and if he was right, he'd win the money. Will Smith was, but the rich dude could guess what was on the field. He got to choose whatever number, and Will Smith woman had to guess the number. And when she started looking through the goggles, she saw a dude that they worked with before wearing the number, so she knew which number to say, even though she wasn't aware of the whole situation. I just recommend you watch the movie. I'm not gonna go all into it, but basically, this is all to say that things that you expose yourself to, even if you don't pay it no attention, it becomes a part of your paradigm, your habitual habits, which you do every day. So, your goal card, by you starting off saying that I am so happy and grateful and feeling it and not just saying it, that I have or that I am such and such, whatever that is, by a certain time frame. Give yourself a good gestation period to allow this to happen. But you have to do this every single day. Carry the card around with you. Think about it if you can't carry it with you all the time. It's just about doing these habits and developing a new version of you. Because in order to replace the old you, you can't just replace it. You have to make a new model that makes the old obsolete. You don't have new cars be just as good as an older car. The newer car is supposed to be better than the older car to make the old one obsolete. A car today is much more efficient than a car was 20 years ago. It makes the old car obsolete. It didn't make the same type of vehicle. And it works the same with us. So it's about getting a gold card, carrying it with you, writing it down and making it plain so who will see it will run. That's what Bob Proctor teaches. So let's get back towards him. But I just want to make sure that you understood towards what he's saying, because I know to most viewers right now, this is a new thing for you. So if you want to know more about that, you drop it down in the comments below. Of course, like I said, this is about building over a billion intellectual conversations, and not just like Instagram and Twitter where always be something negative, but to be able to build up each other and create a community that Lord knows what it become. But if it's good, is it wrong for it to happen? So that's what we're gonna do. So from what you learning from this, if you learned any real value from this today, you already know what to do. Drop it down in the comments below. Let's have some conversations. If of course anything else, as you want to follow me on Instagram, of course it's the same thing towards that he is 1 billion, same as my YouTube channel. But from that, let's get back into the video and learn more from the legendary person himself, Bob Proctor.
Okay. So our first step is to set
That's the
some
first
goals
step.
and think about how we can go about reaching those goals.
Exactly. And just think of how you can. Now, I would say before you get into that, you should get a good book and start to study it. Select a person who is already doing something that you'd like to do. Get to know that person.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the experts for advice. Don't ask the person next door, your mother, father, brother, or the guy that works beside you, because they don't necessarily know. There's no point in asking a person how to earn a lot of money if they're only earning $10,000 a year. They don't know. If they knew, they'd probably be earning a lot. It's like, don't go to a sick doctor if you want to get healthy.
Okay.
So you find someone that you can go to for advice. Get a real good book and lock into that book and start to study it. Like, I've read this one that looks like a Bible, you know. But this is Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. I've been reading this thing now for 23 years. I'll probably read it for another 23 years. I get another good book that I brought over here today. It's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I'm not getting permission for selling this. The author's dead now. He's been gone for a couple of years. But Dr. Joseph Murphy wrote this book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And that's probably one of the best books that you're ever going to find, because you're going to learn something about your mind when you read this book.
Okay.
Now, I read a lot of books. I've got probably 1,000 books sitting in my den at home in my library. But the one that I carry it everywhere I go, and I read it all the time, is Think and Grow Rich. I never stop reading it.
Now, where's the value for you to reread that and read it again? I mean, you must know it well enough that...
I think I could probably recite it verbatim. But the secret is, I once read in a book where it said, when you read a good book through the second time, you don't see something in it that you didn't see before. You see something in yourself that wasn't there before.
Wow.
See, when I read this, I created a greater awareness. Let me just read you one line out of here, 2 lines.
Okay.
Hill said, the missing link in all systems of education known to civilization today may be found in the failure of educational institutions to teach students how to organize and use knowledge after they acquire it. He went on to say that we should understand the real meaning of the word educate. It's not going to a brick and mortar edifice for 25 years. That's gathering information. You'll probably develop your memory, but I would question how well you develop your mind. And I'm not against education, because I encourage my children to go to school, as we know. Now, He said the word education comes from the word educo. And he says it's derived from the Latin word educo, meaning to induce, to draw out, or to develop from within. An educated person is not necessarily one who has an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. An educated person is one who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they may acquire anything they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of others.
Wow.
An educated person is the one that knows how to go and get what they want out of life without being selfish.
In sense, a researcher, somebody who knows what they're looking for and knows how to go about.
Who would
I
have
think
thought
we
of
should
that?
forever be involved in research because learning is a lifelong process. You never stop learning. Education means to draw out from within. We're drawing on an infinite source. We've got deep reservoirs of talent and ability within us. We can learn to do anything. We have phenomenal powers. If we used our body like we used our mind, we'd probably just move our little finger.
Okay. We don't exercise our mind enough.
No. But we're not taught to. Kids in school should be taught before the school year ever starts to sit down. They should be given a blank report card and get them to visualize the marks they want to get and write their own report card. This is before school starts, first week in school. And then the teacher should say, now I want you just to concentrate on how to get that mark, and I don't want you to think of why you can't.
Wow.
And I want you to form the attitude that you're going to get it. Now, some people say that's not being realistic. That's being very realistic. That's following the success principles that go back 6,000 years in recorded history. That's how everything was accomplished.
It's not engaging in fantasy thinking, in
Hell
wishful
no.
thinking, in daydreaming we talk about.
No. Well, that's where all greatness comes from. Greatness comes from fantasy. I would imagine that when Edison first saw the light bulb, he was fantasizing. But he kept fantasizing, and he built it into a theory, and then he built it into an image, and then he built it into a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, it was a fantasy to think of going to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
We've been up there with cars, playing golf.
You mentioned in terms of success principles, attitude, this business of attitude.
Attitude. It takes in the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act. I'd have a difficult time really.
Wow. That was very important what he said, as in everything comes from a fantasy before it becomes a reality. The chair that we're wearing, well, I said wearing, the chair that I'm sitting in, you're probably sitting in, the clothes that I am wearing, the glasses, these earphones. What hasn't came from your and imagination to become what it is right now today? This pencil, this pen, this book, especially. Just think about right now to yourself. What hasn't been thought into reality? And what's the reason why yours cannot? Stop thinking about why you can't do something and think about why you can. It's our own thoughts that limits our ability to be able to be truly fulfilled within this life, to truly create as what you're supposed to. Bob Proctor, the reason why I love this man so much is that he helped people throughout his whole life after he found towards himself how to use their mind, how to exercise it. We're taught we look up video by video towards how to exercise and do this, and we see the results that come from that, and people still like that. But how many of us know how to truly exercise our mind? What's the whole point of having a strong body when you weak mind, weak-willed it? And honestly, I don't think you can have a strong body and have a weak mind. Because in order to get a strong body, you have to have some type of strength within your mind to be able to get the strong body. So from what you're learning from Bob Proctor today, as which I am today, remember that you're not body. This body is yours. You're not I'm hand. This is my hand. Your imagination is a blueprint, is what I believe I heard before, as in it's the preview to life's oncoming attractions. As in, you literally have a trailer, a movie trailer, to whatever that can come into this world, and you're the first person to see it. But you also the person who decides that if it becomes into a reality here in the physical plane. You have the power for those. You have the power to become beyond what you think. Your image can be completely different in a very short amount of time if you're willing to fail first, if you're willing to fall forward, to enjoy the process, because it's the process that's going to allow you to truly, truly, truly not just be humbled by the way, but to be able to have the story which is needed for the next generation so they know what to do next.
Explaining attitude, right, just in a conversation. I used a board in the seminar, and I did an attitude seminar last night. We spent 3 hours dealing with that one subject, so to do it here in 3 minutes, I can't do it. I haven't learned how yet.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
I recognize it's difficult because we
You have
talk.
to have a winning attitude, though, Tom.
Okay. In human relations, we talk about the toughest thing with managing people. The toughest thing to deal with is their attitude.
That's right.
That's almost impossible.
And that's the one thing where management falls down.
We can't change people's attitudes.
Well, nobody can change another person's attitude. And the only attitude we can change is our own. But you see, if management have the idea it's their attitude and we can't do anything about it, then they're not going to do anything about it. But if management arrive at the conclusion, yes, it is attitude, and let's teach the people something about attitude. Let's teach them something about themselves. Let's make them realize that they're worth something, that they're valuable. They're the greatest resource we've got. Companies spend about 65% of every dollar that comes in goes back out on employees and wages and benefits. And yet management knows less about employees than anything else. They know more about the gadgets and the widgets than they do about the people.
Okay, so your suggestion is we develop a winning attitude.
Absolutely.
Can you define that for me, first of all? What is a winning attitude?
Well, if we can understand, let me digress for a second. The whole universe operates by laws, and there's a law of opposites. It's called the law of polarity. Everything has its opposite. There's a right and a left side.
Right.
There's a front and a back, an up and a down, the hot and the cold, positive and negative, yin the yang.
If you want to know more about that, look up the 7
You can
natural
think
laws
negative, or you can think positive, but you can't think
by
both at the same
Nano
time.
Torres.
You're only going to think one way at one time. And we have to train our mind to think or look for the positive or the good in things. There's good in everything. There's no such thing as no good.
Car broke down on the way over to the station.
There's something good about it. There's something good about it. Now, you may have to look to find out what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's something good in everything. There has to be a positive and a negative for anything to exist. There's a law of gender that decrees that.
Kevin Torres, my bad.
Taught in science. Well, once we understand that there's this law of opposites, there's negative thoughts or positive thoughts. As the thought energy flows into our mind, we decide what we're going to think. Person's out at work. They can decide to think I can't find a job, but they can decide to think I can. If they're thinking I'm going to find one, then they'll start attracting a train of thought to them, figuring out how to find it.
Right.
You really have to understand how your conscious and your subconscious mind works in relation to your body or your physical world to understand attitude. Attitude should be taught as a subject in school ahead of reading, writing, arithmetic, or anything else, because it's a person's attitude that's going to determine the marks they get.
Okay, and maybe part of attitude or related to attitude is this business of self-image, which you talked about.
Yeah. Well, that would, like we were talking about success principles, and I was saying you got to get the winning attitude, you've got to set a goal. Then you have to work on self-image. Now, when we think, we build images in our mind. Dr. Maxwell Maltz discovered the self-image concept as we know it today. In 1960, he was a plastic surgeon. And he realized he was operating on people. He may remove a nasty scar from their face. And he noticed sometimes when he removed the scar or maybe did a nose job on them or something, there was a great psychological change took place in the person. Where they may have been introverted, they started to become very gregarious and outgoing. And he postulated that there must be two images that we have, an exterior image, and we also have an inner self-image.
All right.
And he started to study this, and he wrote a magnificent book on it called Psycho-Cybernetics. And psycho-cybernetics, psycho being the mind, cybernetics being the science of control and communication. And he goes into this, and he explains how every one of us has an image in our mind of ourself, and it's called a self-image. Too many people don't know much about themselves, and so they don't have a very good image of themselves. And you'll often notice that people will shy away from you. They won't look you in the eye. They'll look down or look up. They'll never try to do anything of any great consequence because they don't think they can. They have a poor self-image.
Wow.
Part of that is because through school we're told about what we don't do well. We failed here, we had low grades, or
That
we
could be
only
part
got
of it.
60%
Yeah.
or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I think that I think there's been a great disservice done with the IQ test in that respect when you're bringing out school. Benet, the Frenchman, back around the turn of the century, invented the IQ test, and then we brought it over from Stanford over here, and we'll test a person's intellect, and then we'll brand them good, bad, smart, not, and that's not true. We can change IQs by changing self-images.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, if we're told we're not very good, you're just like you're dead, you're a bum, you're never going to do well, you didn't go to school, you can't win.
Okay.
Well, that's all that's all false. We can do anything, and we should be encouraging a child. Give them a pat in the back rather than a kick.
Okay, what can we do? Members of our viewing audience right now, most of us walk around with some degree of a self-image. Is that fair to say?
We all have a self-image.
Okay, would you say most of us have a negative self-image to some degree?
Well, let's say we can all improve our self-image.
Okay.
I don't care how good your image is, you can improve it.
Okay, how can we improve it? Something specific. How can we go about making our self-image more positive?
Well, again, you're getting into a whole day seminar. If I could give you just a simple tip on it, if a person would sit down and let their body relax, totally relax,
Okay.
and then start to visualize in their mind, see themselves the way they want to see themselves.
Which may take a good deal of thought. Since we're not
Well, you
sure.
relax, yeah.
I
And
mean, in terms of how we want to see ourselves. Maybe we don't know how we want to.
relate it to something specific,
Somebody we admire, maybe, or
possibly.
someone we'd like to see ourselves down the road. Okay.
Yeah, see how you'd like to live your life. See yourself living it that way.
Okay.
Now, understand that that's a picture in your mind. When you pick up a book, the book is nothing but a picture that an author has painted in words. Van Gogh, the great artist, was asked one time how he did such beautiful work. He said, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream. They get a picture in the mind, and then paint it on the wall or on the canvas.
Wow.
If we would relax and build the image in our mind of how we'd like to see ourselves,
Mhm.
how we'd like to see ourselves acting in life, relating to other people, our social life, see ourselves in the position we hold, or how we make our sales presentations if we happen to be in selling or something, and then take that picture and describe it, write it out in the present tense. I am so happy now that I see myself, and write it out. Now, a lot of people will laugh at this and say, that doesn't make any sense. It makes a lot of sense. They can't tell you why it doesn't. I could spend hours telling you why it does, and I could explain it in such detail that everyone would understand it. But write out a description of how you'd like to see yourself. Start to read it, and read it, and read it, and read it every day. Carry it around and keep reading it. The one point that all the great teachers, all down through history, have all agreed on, they've been in complete unanimous agreement on it, we become what we think about. Now, it may be fantasy at first, it might even appear to us as being a lie. But if you read it often enough, you'll start to believe it. And when William James said, believe and your belief will create the fact, you will see the person's personality change.
Wow. So many times I want to pause and say something, but I just had to let Bob Proctor just speak, because just like how he's speaking to you, which I know he's speaking to you because he's speaking to me, it's just so much truth and knowledge and wisdom that's coming from him at this point of his life, which he appears to only be in this time, like in his late 30s, if anything, early 40s. But wow, it's just so much. One thing that he's really just pressing is that in order for you to first become something, you have to first be something. What you mean? If your desire is to be a millionaire, you're like, how do I supposed to be a millionaire first before I become one? Well, the money's a byproduct. I'm not that yet. Not yet. But what he's saying is you have to put in the steps. You have to start seeing yourself in possession of that money or whatever that comes from it and feel good from it. Um, I love the quote that he said. I probably won't say it exactly right, but he said about the painter, as in, how does the painter get his paintings? He said, first I dream mm, the painting, then I paint my dream. How many things right now can you dream of that you can paint into reality? It doesn't have to be an actual painting. But what steps do you know you can put in to be able to change your life from what it is right now? You have beyond the ability to truly have what you want, no matter what anybody else says, because it's the truth. As I'm pretty sure Bob Proctor would agree, as you are God's highest form of creation. I say it every single time because it's the truth. And like he said, you write this down every day. You make it plain towards, I'm so happy and grateful that now I am this type of person, that I now have this, that I'm now becoming this, that I am now this. He says, speak as in present tense, not past nor future. By speaking in that matter, even if you feel it's a joke at first or a lie, we know that even if you tell yourself a lie enough times, it becomes truth to you. Why not do it in a positive way? Take a bet on yourself, especially if you're young. And really, even if you're not, would you rather regret it? Think about what if? Or would you rather do it? And even if you were to fail, you know that you at least tried. Most people don't even try. Most of us are taught not to even think. Today, think for yourself. Who am I? Who am I? Where am I going? And who am I becoming? So at this point, I ended here. But I just want you to think to yourself right now that from all this information, as in if you don't learn anything that's beneficial towards you that you can use today, don't just feel motivated. Apply the messages. Get the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Get the gold card, GOAL, gold card. I am so happy and grateful now that you write whatever else by a certain date and time. You have to believe it. But most importantly, you have to be consistent with it. Because before belief, you can have consistency. And consistency brings results, which can bring belief. You cannot believe that you can lose weight in the gym. But if you go into the gym for a month and you're doing the proper things, even if you don't believe you'll lose the weight, you're going to lose some weight. And you seeing that physical result gives you the belief, the faith that maybe I can lose this weight. I lost 5-10 pounds. Take a bet on yourself. Have faith in yourself. Surround yourself with people who have the mindset, the tools, the resources that you so heartily desire. Because what you desire desires you. It all starts with us. Happiness doesn't just come from those around us, it comes from within. And to be able to maintain that, it's important to be around those people with similar energy of which we desire. So from this, if you enjoy what I have to say today, please, of course, of course, subscribe. That'll help a lot and be able to provide more back to y'all. And more importantly, so more eyes can see this. But beyond that, comment. Because like I said from the beginning of this video, that this is about building over 1 billion conversations, intellectual conversations in this world to be able to help each other and to be able to build something that I'm not even sure what's going to become. But if it's good, is it wrong? And that's just really what's important to me. What's important to you? Do you want a community of people around you that supports, not just supports, but you actually learning from and that you can take notes from? I can't tell you what this will become, but I can tell you it's going to be great. It's going to be great because I see it and I visualize it within my head. I see the person I want to become. I see the person I am becoming. I am becoming the person I want to be. It starts with the image that you portray yourself as. Are you the person that you want to be? Are you the model that you want to be? Are you the representation of your highest form of self? The best way you can visualize yourself right now, can you so heartily say, honestly, that you're the person you want to be? You're the smartest you want to be? You're the strongest you want to be? You're the most put together you want to be? If not, it's okay. But put in the steps now. Visualize it, write it down, make it plain, put it into action for you to be able to see that result. Because you can't get mad at something that you don't put work into at all. So from that, this is Thaddeus. Of course, Thatheisonebillion, my channel. I thank you once again for being here. Of course, show love within the comments if you want you want to be able to support the channel. Of course, below, self-love merch, motivational merch. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Thatheisonebillion as well, because together at billion, we will make over the billion conversations, not just a billion conversations, but intellectual ones. And just most importantly, build something that's important. There's far too many gossip about things that don't really matter, and too much hush on the things that do. It's a war on masculinity. It's a war on the household of parents. It's a war on just people being together. It's too many things that's focused on separating us. And we's all we got. Don't allow the outside forces to determine your reality. Only you determine your reality. It starts within your mind before it becomes a physical reality. Think and grow rich. That's from what it is. And to end it off, just like what you see in the background, believing that you can is far better than believing that you can't. Even if you don't have faith in it, believe. Because belief is far more powerful than having no faith at all. This is Thatheisonebillion. I thank you for being here today. I love you, family. And I look forward to being able to see y'all on the next video reaction.